hope you've had a good day today. Since our theme this year is DSPs help create great life stories, I wanted to tell you a great life story. And it's because you all help them have great lives. You help them experience life in a full and enriching way. And that's why I really like this theme, besides the fact that we have Rachel, who writes great life stories as well. I wanted to remind you that you do too, and you do it on a daily basis. And you need to remember that, you need to take that home with you and feel good about what you do. This life story is really aligned with the NADSP Code of Ethics. You guys know the Code of Ethics? How many of you are familiar with the Code of Ethics for your profession? Oh, not even half. Not even half. Well, it's really important because we are a profession. And one of the landmarks or benchmarks of a profession is that there is a professional code of ethics. And these are just the titles. I encourage you to go to nadsp.org and read the entire code, because it spells out how we're supposed to do our jobs. Like the DD Bill of Rights, it tells us how we are to treat the people that we serve. So it's really important. And I think if you read the whole code, you may very well recognize yourself and the things that you do. This life story is not about a person with an intellectual disability. Mona's story really personifies this code of ethics and the DSP profession as a whole. I know her well, and by the end of the story, I think you'll know her too. It's a very personal story, very real and true. It's a story of someone who was born to be a DSP. Mona's mother had a hearing disability. Mona also had cousins with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So early on, she learned that people are equal despite their differences. Much like Rachel said, disability was not even recognized. They grew up with it. It was part of their family thread. And so is true for Mona. She learned about inclusion as a child, playing with her cousins and making up games so that everybody could play. She thought everyone should be accepting of people's differences and they should be empathetic towards all people. She knew that it was wrong for people to be mistreated just because they had differences. She was aware of her principles early in life and would expound on those on the playground when there was bullying or teasing or name calling. She let people know that is not okay. And she really hated the R word because she could feel the sharp slap of contempt when people used that word. So Mona in particular is very happy that we try hard not to use that word anymore. When she noticed people staring at her mother because of her hearing aids, she felt her mother's discomfort and her self-consciousness. And she was nervous around people because she was afraid she wouldn't be able to read their lips and might respond with the wrong thing. So Mona would join in on those conversations even as a child, repeat what people said and enunciate so that her mother could read her lips and understand what was going on in the conversation. So even as a youngster, she was developing and maintaining relationships. But, well, she also provided assistance to her mother when her sisters were born. Her mother couldn't hear the babies crying at night, so the 7-year-old would get up, wake her mother, and then assist her with making the bottle, changing the baby, whatever had to happen. She was promoting her family's physical and emotional well-being. But she wasn't perfect, and she once took advantage of her mother's disability. She got mad, turned her back, and sassed her mother, and that day she learned respect. Mona's grandmother worked as an aide in a veterans center, a residential setting, long ago, and she lamented that her grandmother had to work evenings, weekends, overnights. You know the tune? Right. So she would ask her grandmother, why do you have to work tonight? Why do you have to work overnight? And the answer was always the same, because the gentlemen count on me to be there. They need someone to help them, they need someone to listen to and to talk to, and they need someone to care about them and to be there when they need something. So right then and there, Mona learned integrity and responsibility. When Mona was in high school, she visited a group home. She thought that the house parents had a really cool job. She also thought it was really cool that people with disabilities could live in normal homes in the communities and not just with their parents or in institutions. She happened into a direct support job in a developmental center. Notice I say happened. She was hired sight unseen from another state and walked in and started working. Now we know that wouldn't happen today, and that's a good thing. But she didn't like the conditions there. She didn't think the residents were well treated, and she wanted something better for them. So even at her very first job in the field, Mona was an advocate for people with disabilities. She was fortunate to later find a residential agency that provided high quality care for the residents that they served. Not only that, but the agency respected her skills, appreciated her knowledge, and encouraged learning and mentoring. They respected DSPs and supported her interest in enhancing the profession. Mona worked her way up the short career ladder. She was a DSP. Then as a home manager, she was able to coach DSPs to support choices and preferences, to pay attention and learn what the residents or the individuals they served really wanted, and to try to make that happen. So she promoted self-determination and person-centered supports before they were adopted as guidelines in the field. She was enthusiastic about promoting professionalism, ethics, and compassion in the direct support staff. While that felt great, it wasn't enough to satisfy her need to see DSPs and the profession recognized as important, valuable. When Mona heard about a credentialing program in Ohio, she signed up. She ran focus groups with DSPs to find out what they wanted in a credentialing program, what they wanted the benefits to be. Some of you may have participated in that. That's when she changed her focus from those focus groups. She began advocating for direct support professionals that day. This was what she'd always dreamed about. This was what was missing. There wasn't a good representation of DSPs and the profession. It wasn't a positive one. People came and went in the field and never looked back. She felt like it was a much more important job and should be recognized as that. She knew that DSPs have a significant skill set. You guys ever stop one day and write down all the different skills you use in a shift? It's pretty incredible. There's a lot of things that you have to know how to do. And not just skills, but individualized services that you provide to people. So Mona thought this was great. We're gonna make this happen. We're gonna recognize the direct support profession. because she knows that DSPs have to be accountable, accurate, compassionate, flexible, tolerant, patient, calm, consistent, and the list goes on. So they should be compensated accordingly. Mona heard about the DS Paths program, formerly known as Ohio Paths. How many Paths graduates do we have out here? Woohoo! Almost as many who know the ethics. There's a connection there. Yay, DS Paths graduates. She became a mentor and instructor and realized that by helping DSPs see themselves as professionals, by instilling ethics and person-centered techniques into their duties, and by mentoring people to be the best that they could be, she was not only affecting the lives of the people they served, but the DSPs themselves. Mona was fortunate to go on and join the board of OADSP and recognized then that she had achieved her dream, not just locally, but beyond. And she had an opportunity to influence change for the entire workforce, and important changes happened during that time. Direct support was recognized as a profession by the Department of Labor. The Ohio credentialing program was taken off and even going to different states. Many DSPs were now being well-trained on core competencies, ethics, and advocacy. But Mona still had a need to see DSPs valued and respected by consumers, employers, lawmakers, families, and society in general. This event is the culmination of a lot of advocacy and a lot of people who, like Mona, believe in the direct support profession. Thanks to many people in this room, policymakers know of your challenges and are tasked with improving wages and supporting the workforce. Mona's dream is of DSPs being honored, respected, valued, educated, credentialed, and compensated for the important work that you do. There are 450 of you here today because of a dream, an idea. Events like this are a start, but this is only one way to honor and recognize people for the valuable and important work that you do. Events like the DSP Council and Summit will help you move this mission forward. Mona's story demonstrates that you can have an impact. Not only can you have a positive effect on the lives of the people that you support, but you can be a positive influence in your field. You can participate in promoting and enhancing the profession. You can share your passion and compassion with your peers. You can create great life stories for yourself, your peers, and those you support. Mona today? Well, Mona Lisa Barnes sees her whole life wish fulfilled in all of you today.